Sandy talked about some of the profound changes that are going on around us that we see in the headlines every day, and it occurs to me that it's difficult unless changes are really concrete and really immediate that we can understand when we're living and going through or entering historic times. But we are entering historic times, and this building is going to be a beneficial player for many, many years to come because of those changes. We are now at a point in human history that is literally unprecedented. In the past, we have had 2 points of refuge for human society. One has been a flat earth view of resources. And so if we depleted resources in one part of the world, there was always a never-ending horizon and new green fields from which to extract new resources, leaving the waste behind, leaving the consequences behind of resource depletion. So that was the flat earth refuge that has sustained us for much of modern human history. The other refuge has been science and technology. After all, the Industrial Revolution in Europe was born in the midst of a renewable energy shortage, namely firewood. Hence the Newcomen engine to pump water to be able to, out of the mines, to be able to mine coal to supply industry. And we have had a tendency to believe that we are so clever and so imaginative that there was no end of resource substitution, no end of science, technology, and innovation available to us. And as a consequence, no matter what problems we faced with today's resources, by deploying the necessary new technologies, we could address the needs of tomorrow and the future. So both of those smug and thoroughly untrue assumptions have come into the full light of day. And as we gather here today, we are all part of a resource-constrained planet. In the last 10 years, the price of coal, what we call Northern Appalachian seam coal, that powers much of the power plants for electricity here in Pennsylvania, that price has been nearly level at about $40 per ton for the last 10 years. In the last 10 weeks, it tripled. In the past year, the price of agricultural phosphate rock has tripled. Other agricultural fertilizers have gone up by a factor of 4. At the beginning of this decade, the natural gas from which we not only heat our homes and businesses, but from which we get processed chemicals for the chemical and pharmaceutical and polymer industry, it was $1.50 for 1,000 cubic feet. Today, it's $10.50. On the other side of the world, in India alone, the middle class, the growing, burgeoning middle class, all of which want to abandon bicycles riding to work in exchange for automobiles, is now larger than the entire population of the United States. The average person in China is eating 2.5 times more meat than they had only a few years ago. Last year, the world consumed 30 billion barrels of conventional petroleum. They discovered 6 billion from new wells, despite record high prices. And so a lot of the easy and erroneous assumptions that have been mainstays of human economic and cultural expectation for many years are being put under the light of cool reason to say, well, if in fact the world is round and not flat, and if in fact resources are finite, and if in fact there's no practical substitution, there is no synthetic replacement for oxygen or for arable land or for water or phosphorus, potassium, critical minerals, no substitute at all, and a growing competitive global economy is demanding more than the Earth can support, then is there a Plan B solution? After all, we've come this far. We've come perhaps too far to easily be defeated. And yet, we cannot continue to believe that the old maxims you hear in business school and your economics classes, that the cure for demand is supply, that what goes up must come down, that business will always follow immutable cycles, and that life can continue the way it has. Life can continue the way it has, but that doesn't mean that life needs to be diminished, or that our options to have a successful economy need to be constrained. If we've done nothing else at the Department of Environmental Protection the last 5.5 years, I think it is to make the case, I hope, once and for all, that it is profoundly untrue that you have to make a trade-off between the environment and the economy, and that somehow to protect the environment is to threaten the economy. Those are precepts and notions that still resonate, particularly in our nation's capital amongst political leadership. Time and time and time again, we have invested in, supported, celebrated, encouraged, aided sustainable business where they can do well by doing good. And the goodness that has been initiated by Airzen and this wonderful team of design professionals that have helped make this extraordinary building possible, it's just getting started.